Ladies and gentlemen, here comes the click. Click. So, Chapter 7. Let's start with the story, alright? Our dudes are tired. We need some place to just chill out, watch some YouTube videos, and get some decent rest. So we're going over to the port town of Warren. This place is guarded by mercenaries, and it's relatively wealthy, and it bribes the Durua Empire to not kick its shit in. So it's a pretty good place for doing all of our relaxation needs. Unfortunately, it's also the biggest test of fucking patience that we've experienced so far in this game. I want you to take one good look at this map and tell me what's wrong with it. Well, not yet. Alright, right here. These are all the enemy units that we are going to be dealing with in this chapter. Now, it's worth noting that there's removed content in this chapter as well, but we'll get into that in a little bit. We got two mercenaries that show up here. They both suck. There's no reason to use them. So we're not going to address them further. However, there is an arena here. Arenas suck in this game. Sometimes they'll put you up against an opponent that you just simply cannot defeat, or sometimes they'll put you against an opponent that has a crit rate on you. And if any of you have seen the video that came up before this, you don't want to deal with critical hit rates ever in this game, because even if it's a 1% crit chance, it's very, very possible for it to go off. So right here, I'm just doing a bit of shopping. So most of this chapter is going to be us walking up this hill and dealing with the enemy units. Now, I actually counted, took note of the time. It takes over an entire minute for all the enemy units to move without any kind of, enemy phase attacks. Oh, also, Sheeta, I'm going to have over to the boss. I got her a armor slayer so that she can fight the dude. And we'll get into that later as well. So, these guys, oh my god, they take forever, and there's no true fast way to take them all out. You just have to place your units over at this little choke point here and just play things as safe as possible. Because one, if you use any night killer weapons or something designed to, or just kill these guys in one round of combat, what happens is that since that space is no longer filled, another enemy will take its place, attack you, die, and then another one will fill its place until your dude dies. Now, that forces us to play slow. In addition to that, most of my magic users or ranged attackers don't have high luck, and I learned the hard way that if you don't have luck in this game, you are going to get royally fucked in the ass. Numerous times in this chapter, I died to a very unlucky critical hit, and it really sucks because this chapter, again, I counted, it takes 33 minutes for me to complete it, with a good run. That's fucking ridiculous. So, you have to play things as boring and safe as possible, or have to redo another 30 minutes, or spend another 30 minutes dealing with this horse shit. Now, that pirate right there is kind of interesting, because throughout the entire chapter, I didn't really pay it any mind. I was kind of like, what the fuck is that thing's deal? He's not doing anything, he's just moving. It wasn't until the very end of the chapter where I realized he had a silver axe, but it was too late for me to get it. So I just kind of said fuck it, because I had already spent 2 hours playing this chapter, and I couldn't be asked to do it. So let's talk about Bantu right here. Bantu, I know I said that he sucks, but he doesn't. He's good. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about in the previous chapter. But I decided to use him. He starts with 14 defense when he transforms into a dragon. And that basically means none of these enemies can actually hurt him. So, some people didn't know how the Firestone mechanics work. Basically, when you use the Firestone, you turn into a dragon for a set amount of turns, and that reduces the durability of the Firestone by 1 point. Afterwards, after a couple turns, you change back into a normal Manakee human-type person, and you have to use it again. So, basically, Bantu can only be used 18 times throughout the entire game. So, right here, I have Sheeta attack the boss. She has an Armor Slayer, she's got Vulneraries, and I also have a Physics Staff, also known as the Reblow Staff in this game. So, she's pretty set to kill that guy. Unfortunately, she's never gonna fucking kill him. And when you see me actually kill that fucker, it's gonna be kind of hilarious. So anyway, let's look at my notes. So a big problem with this chapter is that the enemies have crit rates. And throughout this chapter, I kind of wondered to myself, why the hell does this game have a system where 1 point of skill equals 1 crit, and 1 point of luck takes away a point of crit from the enemy's crit? With a system like this, it's very easy to reduce battles into very luck-based scenarios. And it dawned on me. I think the original creator of Fire Emblem intended the games to be like, you lose a unit and you just move on. If you lose somebody, you just continue on and you have to deal with your loss. And when I think about it, it starts to make more sense to me, because Fire Emblem 3 gives you a ton of units, and most of them are kind of just like shitty replacements for previous units you have. This, combined with the luck and skill mechanics, kind of leads me to believe this, and it kind of makes sense. Because I feel like a Fire Emblem is intended to have like an emotional impact. That's why all these characters are given their own unique personalities, and they kick ass, and you care for them. So that way, when you lose them in a sudden, spontaneous battle, like spontaneous moment in a battle, you just have to accept it. And I mean, really, most of the Fire Emblems before Fire Emblem 6 kind of function under this. So, that's just a little theory there. But, yeah, I don't think the games were designed for you to keep everybody alive. And I think Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon furthers my point, because that game actually rewards you for killing units. Though, I don't necessarily encourage that practice. So while we're watching this nonsense, I'd like to correct something I said earlier. Remember when I said hand axes and javelins both have 20 weight? I was wrong. Hand axes only have 9 weight. So with a couple more points of speed, Barts can actually double most enemy units, because most enemy units just have 0 speed, just flat out. So that's pretty neat. Though, I don't know if I necessarily want him to do that. So yeah, I think this chapter more or less summarizes most of the problems with Fire Emblem 3. The tedium, the bullshit luck-based crap. Though, again, as I said before, I think that's intentional. I don't think the games are... Well, the older games are designed to be fair. I think FE6 and beyond, because the original creator of Fire Emblem left, Nintendo wanted to make the game more accessible. That's why they took away a significant number of mechanics such as capture and, you know, marriage and whatnot. I think they did that to make it more accessible. And that's why there's also the double RN system from FE6 to beyond, so that you're less likely to get horribly mutilated by unavoidable bullshit. You know, it just... To me, it makes sense. So, let me look through my notes. So you might notice that Abel has a Night Killer, which is good up against Cavaliers. I don't use that. Oh wait, I already explained why. I don't want to wipe out the enemy units too fast, or else they'll just dogpile me. However, you might also be wondering why I'm not taking advantage of the mountain terrain. In this game, footed units actually don't have too many movement penalties from walking on mountains. You can usually walk on about 2 mountains per turn, whereas in the newer games you can only walk like 1, and that's assuming you're like 2 spaces away. But the main thing is that most terrain in this game does not give you any defense bonuses. They only give you avoid bonuses, and in a game where most weapons are super accurate, like for example, I think the Iron Lance is like stupidly accurate, but I think that might have been the game glitching out when I last checked. But yeah, this is a game where weapons are super accurate, so that avoid bonus really doesn't benefit me much. Let's see. What else do I have in here? Okay, so I mentioned earlier that there was a unit that was removed, like a recruitable unit that was removed from this chapter. That would be Roger the Knight. They still kept in Caesar, or whatever the fuck his name is, and Ratty, but I think the reason why is simply because, like, they're mentioned in the story, and it wouldn't make sense to remove them. But Roger doesn't have anything to do with the plot, so there you go. And it's a shame, too, because he's a character that Sheeta recruits, and it's one of the most amusing recruitment dialogues in the entire game. Sheeta basically kind of just, like, flirts with him, and uses her feminine charms to convince him to join the team. You should check it out, it's pretty awesome. Sheeta's an awesome character. I think anybody who has Sheeta as their waifu, more power to you, man. Because, like, Sheeta's awesome. Like, I like her personality. She's a really good unit. Like, there's nothing to not like. She's super admirable and committed to her job. And, you know, she's also really nice. Because, like, Marth has the worst fucking job in the world. He has to save the world. He's, like, the chosen one. That's gotta be, like, so much pressure. Like, I've thought about it, and being the chosen one must make your ego stupidly huge, and it probably also makes you super stressed out, because, like, if you fuck up, everybody dies. That's gotta suck. And in Book 2, things get even worse. Like, Martha... So yeah, like, I think it's cool that Sheeta is, like, totally into Marth. He fucking deserves somebody like her. I'm gonna be honest here. So, here's another thing about this chapter, right? So, the fort's at the top. It's not shown throughout this play session, but they do have reinforcements. I think it only happens if you get close to them, which is interesting, because, like, that's almost like the game's telling you don't fucking approach them. Whereas in newer Fire Emblem games, you generally want to, like, walk up to forts and plug them up if there are reinforcements. And the chapter with the numerous forts in it kind of encourages that strategy. But here's kind of like, no, fuck you. You can't do that shit, or else you just get a buttload of enemies on your ass. But yeah, because the Bow Knights are considered promoted, you actually get more experience from them than you do most other units. And if you can position your units in such a way that they can block the spawn points, but also allow some enemies to pop out, this chapter is actually a really good grinding spot. Of course, I'm not gonna do that because grinding's for chumps. So I know I said that, like, if you come close to the forts, they ambush spawn, but I think what it really is if Marth specifically moves near them. I think a good number of the forts and ambush spawns in this game are triggered by Marth's positioning. So I think you can actually plug up the forts so long as you don't bring Marth near them until, like, after they're plugged up. And with that said, I've officially run out of shit to say. This video is 18 minutes, and I've already run out of shit to say. And this footage has been sped up. There's not much dialogue in this entire chapter. This is mostly just me getting through this goddamn fucking battalion of enemy units, and it's, oh my god, it's a fucking waste of time. Ugh. Well, since we have an extra 3 minutes, I might as well talk about my day. Most of it was work, and what sucks is that when I got home, I was ready to do this commentary and to work on my Fire Emblem Pack Chronicles of Lusaria, but unfortunately, some driver crashed into my grandfather's car, and that bumped it into my brother's car, and he crashed into a bunch of other cars and horribly mutilated his own car. He was okay. Nobody got hurt. But that took a lot of time in my day. Well, of my night, rather. And, yeah, I was standing out in the rain with no umbrella. That's more my fault than anything. But I'm kind of grateful that I went out there to report the problem to, like, the police and tell my family about it, because hopefully when all's said and done, we'll be able to, like, get money off of it, or, like, some kind of insurance, so I guess that should be nice. Something else happened today. I forgot what it was, though. But yeah. So, we're about to get to the bridge section of this chapter, where Marth walks over the bridge. It's pretty amazing. For some reason, even though Marth is literally right there, I'm still attempting to fight the boss with Sheeta. Sheeta, oh my god. If I had just gotten some better rolls with Sheeta, I think I could have killed that boss a lot quicker. But yeah. I placed this guy here. I placed Bantu over there because I think the ambush reinforcements are going to show up. But again, I think that's area-based and only if Marth comes close. But I place him there just as sort of insurance. Because so long as he's there, like, none of the enemies stand a chance against him, and I could just bait. So yeah, I place Marth here, I place Sheeta right there, and all that fucking effort that I put into making Sheeta beat the boss while everybody else is minding their own fucking business, killing the knights and shit, and Marth comes in and just fucking ends it right there. With a fucking crit. Sheeta had 8 crit throughout all these goddamn turns, and not one of them went off. And then Marth just kind of shows up, says, yeah, I'm stealing your glory, bitch. I would fucking divorce that guy immediately, even though Sheeta's not married to him yet. So yeah, Katria shows up, and she's just like, dude, you know Minerva from the previous chapter and how she had to fight you because of her sister being imprisoned and shit, and she didn't fight you anyway? Well, we want you to help us save her sister so that we don't have to fight and shit. Bye. She just leaves.